Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today discussing the San Francisco 49ers and their quarterback situation, Sam. Who is best for the 49ers if and when they make the playoffs? It's still a big if. They got to beat the Los Angeles Rams this week and or get some help from the Atlanta Falcons against the Saints. But if the Niners are in the playoffs, is it Jimmy Garoppolo or is it the rookie Trey Lance? Which one? Who gives them the best chance of winning and making a run in the playoffs?
It's which is your question, right? Like, who gives them the best chance of winning any individual game? Probably Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, his baseline, I think, is going to be higher. His floor is probably higher, but we know that he's also flawed and that, he's probably not capable of taking them on this run that wins 4 straight games and knocks off a bunch of good teams and wins a Super Bowl. The team that's around him right now is not as good as the team that was around him when he went to the Super Bowl and still came up, a play or two short. Trey Lance probably has a lower floor, but has a higher ceiling. And if you're looking to be a spoiler team, if you're looking to be a team that upsets the odds and wins 4 games, most of which you're not supposed to win, you probably need the guy that's capable of doing something a little bit more special. So if I'm the 49ers, I say, screw it. He's the QB of the future anyway. Let's throw out Trey Lance and see what happens.
All right, let's add some context to everything here.
Do context.
It works both ways. Jimmy Garoppolo has obviously played a lot more football than Trey Lance. Trey Lance has 86 dropbacks. Garoppolo has a PFF grade of 75.1. And Trey Lance has a grade of 59.7. Now, the construction of that grade, how has it happened? They both have the exact same turnover-worthy play percentage. Again, we're grading every player on every play, and when you throw the ball into coverage and it should be picked, whether it is or not, we're given the downgrade. The turnover-worthy play percentage is the exact same for Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, which is the point we've made about Jimmy Garoppolo for a while now. For a guy that doesn't make a ton of special throws, and I'll get to that in a minute, puts the ball in harm's way, and then, the big-time throw percentage. It's very, very early, but Trey Lance has nearly double the big-time throw percentage as Jimmy Garoppolo. So that kind of backs up your point of this high-risk, high-reward, the big-time throws that Trey Lance brings to the table. And what we saw on Sunday, just him getting out of the pocket, he's going to put defenses in a bind. Defenses are going to be more concerned trying to game plan and stop a Trey Lance. Not only because of what Trey Lance can do, but what his skill set opens up for the George Kittles and the Brandon Ayuks and the Deebo Samuels of the world. How about having all those guys plus Kyle Juszczyk, right? All out there to cover. It could be really bad. But at the same time, the thing that's made Kyle Shanahan so good is having a Jimmy Garoppolo there who might not make special throws, but for the most part, hits the open throws that he creates. It's one of the most explosive, productive passing offenses in the league with Jimmy Garoppolo under center. So I think it's a tough one, but I do think your point of the high ceiling with Trey Lance as an underdog throughout the whole playoffs could be the play for the Niners.
Yeah, like Jimmy G makes some mistakes and has 9 big-time throws all season long. Trey Lance has 87 dropbacks and has got 3 big-time throws already. Like, the capacity for him to make something happen with his arm is so much higher. And also remember, he brings that rushing threat as well. So even if he is slightly worse on a down-to-down efficiency basis as a passer, he's bringing something to the table that Jimmy Garoppolo isn't really. Like, he brings that rushing threat. He's got 168 rushing yards already on 27 carries, 4.3 yards per attempt, which is probably dramatically underselling what he's capable of if he's a starting quarterback. Like, that's him being brought in for a lot of kind of gimmick short yardage rushes and those kinds of things earlier in the season. I think the baseline of Jimmy Garoppolo or of Trey Lance as a rusher as a starting quarterback would be significantly higher. So yeah, look, it's risky, but if you're going into the playoffs as a wild card team, looking at what happens when we face the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game or something like that, you got to ask yourself, is Jimmy G good enough to get that done?
We've hit the final week of the pro football regular season, and college football is heading into the national championship, and DraftKings Sportsbook has an unbelievable offer to get all fans in on the action for this exciting time on the football calendar. New customers can bet just $5 on any football team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. That's it. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, you can still find a way to the winner's circle. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Football Contest, and DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any football team, college or pro, and win $200 in free bets if they're victorious. It's promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. New minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I know, again, we've made this comparison. People have made this comparison. The Colin Kaepernick over Alex Smith move. I do think Colin Kaepernick back in 2012 when this happened. That's years ago, by the way. Maybe people forget. It's almost 10 years ago. But Alex Smith was having a good season. Colin Kaepernick, I think, was, I don't want to use the word polished, but I think he was probably just a better player at that point, his second year in the NFL, than Trey Lance. And he did bring the running element to the game, right? He ran all over Green Bay in the playoffs and had a really good 2-year playoff run where the Niners did take their offense from good to great for a period of time. I don't know if Trey Lance has that. He has that ability. He has the same kind of ability. I just don't know if he's there yet as a player. So inexperienced. Colin Kaepernick played a lot of football at Nevada. Trey Lance had only 320 dropbacks at the FCS level, plus some JUCO. So there's a big experience gap, I think, between Trey Lance and what Colin Kaepernick had at the time when he took over back in 2012.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Jimmy Garoppolo's season has not been one, level baseline of just this is what he is. And when we say that they've got the same turnover-worthy play rate, that's kind of the entirety of Jimmy G's season all put together. But if you strip out like the early part where he was playing like crap, if you just look at the good run from really the moment where they kind of threatened his job, right? Like Jimmy G was playing badly to start the season. The question was becoming, how soon does Trey Lance get in the lineup and take over the starting job? And basically from that moment on, Jimmy G went on this really good run of quality play until one bad game recently. So if you look at just that, his turnover-worthy play rate drops a full percentage point. It becomes significantly lower, obviously, than Trey Lance's. And 8 of his 9 big-time throws have come in that period as well. So if you say this is the guy we think he can be going forward, then I think you probably are looking at a guy who is a better bet than Trey Lance, because now you're talking about a guy that's throwing for 9 yards per attempt, which is the most in the NFL and a really high number. He's already, the most in the NFL, including the crappy weeks. But if you look at just the good run of play, which is extensive, right? It's not like I'm talking about a week or two here. It's like from week 8 onwards. We're talking about a guy that's throwing for 9 yards per attempt, 13 touchdowns, 6 picks, 8 of his 9 big-time throws on the season, a turnover-worthy play rate that's significantly less, an adjusted completion rate of almost 79%. That's a guy you can win with, and they have been winning with. So I think I've already seen, Kyle Shanahan say that, yeah, look, Jimmy G's the quarterback. When he's healthy, he goes back in. And that would be why. It's that run of play, even if the kind of the roller coaster will even you out to somewhere that might not be any better than Trey Lance. That's the guy they think they're shooting for.
That's what makes it such a fascinating discussion, though. The difference in yards per attempt, the high yards per attempt figure with the low big time throw figure always speaks to, okay, there are special players on that team or there's a special play caller. So there's probably an element of Kyle Shanahan that says, I know what I'm going to get for the most part with Jimmy G, knowing that some of those mistakes will be in there. But we also have an adjusted completion percentage of about 78%. It's a lot higher than Trey Lance in the small sample size, but even Trey Lance in the preseason just doesn't complete passes at high of a rate. I think he's going to work on his touch. And of the quarterbacks coming out of the draft last year, Trey Lance had he was the worst as far as accuracy goes. Now you offset that by having dynamic rushing ability. And I keep coming back to, I'm on the fence. Big shock here, Sam. But me being on the fence, it's because imagine Trey Lance in the backfield and you have Deebo Samuel on the field or whichever. It doesn't even matter which running back the Niners put out there, but you have Deebo. He's in the backfield. You have to take this really good run blocking offensive line with Trey Lance back there, with Deebo Samuel back there. It conflicts the defense. Trey Lance adds a conflict to the defense that will offset his inaccuracy, that will offset probably some of his decision making. So yeah, the upside is there. But I think if I have to make the choice, I would go with Jimmy Garoppolo, because you're asking Jimmy Garoppolo to go on a 3 or 4 game run, but you could still win games without him maybe at his best. A 4-game run to just make good decisions, get the ball to those playmakers. He was one throw away from winning the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I would probably roll with Jimmy G.
I think the disappointing thing is that they didn't take the opportunity to get Trey Lance's feet wet over the course of the year. Like
True.
they had, I mean, he missed some time injured, but they had an extensive period of time where it's not like they needed to start him. You know, you could have had Jimmy G as your quarterback, but there was a way of putting Trey Lance in the game for packages or for a series or for situations or whatever you wanted to do. And they did it right at the start of the year. He came in for a few snaps here or there. And then he had the start. He had the sort of opportunity for playing time when Garoppolo got hurt. And then when Jimmy G came back, started playing well, that was the end. Like we just didn't see Lance for the majority of the season. I think that's a missed opportunity to have gotten him some experience and a little bit of playing time and just sort of, seeing if a few snaps or a few plays here or there would have made any kind of material difference in his development. You might have had a little bit more confidence in him now going into or heading towards the postseason. Now you get one game against Houston where he certainly flashed some upside and some high-end ability, but a couple of big mistakes in there. And if you're Kyle Shanahan, you're thinking, I just don't trust giving this guy the keys going into the biggest games of the season. I think they will stick with Jimmy G, but I think if they want to win a Super Bowl this year, it's probably only happening with Trey Lance.
But you may have answered my question for my fence-sitting ways. Maybe it's Trey Lance, red zone quarterback, tight red zone quarterback. Actually get him back in there, use that run threat. So good getting outside the pocket. That's where his 2 touchdowns came on Sunday. So that's my answer. Jimmy Garoppolo with a touch of Trey Lance in the red zone. You're going Trey Lance for the upside. I want to know what the viewers and listeners think. Who would you start at quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers? It's the PFF